Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mapping Elder Justice Networks webinar. My name is Talitha Gwenshaver, and I am the Elder Abuse Multidisciplinary Team Technical Advisor for the Elder Justice Initiative at the U.S. Department of Justice. If you have any technical issues or questions or comments throughout today's presentation, you are welcome to use the questions and comments chat box is on the right-hand side of your display. And you'll notice that throughout the presentation, on the lower right-hand box, you will see how to join us to be included in the locator map box, a little bit of a mouthful there. But as I go through the presentation and describe this project and what we're working on, we want you to be able to reference easily how to submit the information for any teams that you may be a part of to potentially join this project with us. So today I'm going to talk just briefly about what the Elder Justice Initiative is, in case some of you here are new to us. We'll go over the services of the MDT Technical Assistance Center and then focus in on a couple of new projects, in particular this new network mapping project, and then invite all of you to participate in the map. I'm seeing in the comments question something about the sound having echoes. Is that a common problem, or is that just happening with one individual? If you are having trouble hearing, please go ahead and make a note there so we can try to make some audio adjustments. As we begin today, if you wouldn't mind taking just a second to fill out a poll to help us see what sort of professions are represented on today's call. We have a special interest since we have that focus on multidisciplinary. Teams are always wondering what disciplines are here and interested in our content. Go ahead and pull the poll over. All right, looks like we have quite a few legal folks and some law enforcement, medical, social workers, our bread and butter. Social workers are always showing up to the MDT webinars, so thanks for always hanging in there with us on learning new things. Lots of victim services folks. Looks like we have a robust representation of folks here participating. So thank you so much. And yes, I see that a few of you have noted that you have professions that aren't listed, such as nurse investigators, and people who are just in the aging field more broadly. That's fantastic. Okay, we can go ahead and close out the poll. Just wanted to see if there is any profession in particular that I should be targeting some of this content to. So thank you for participating in that with us. So just briefly, the Elder Justice Initiative is a project within the U.S. Department of Justice, and our mission is really to coordinate and support the department's programmatic efforts to combat elder abuse, neglect, and financial fraud and schemes that target older adults. So some of the activities that we are commonly engaged in are around promoting justice for older adults, helping older victims and their families, enhancing state and local efforts through training and resources, and supporting research to improve elder abuse policy and practice. And if you do have thoughts or questions about any of those sort of target areas, if you go to our website, you'll find lots of resources, and in particular some really wonderful access to trainings for each of the professions that we talked about being present today. So the MDT Technical Assistance Center is really here to sort of provide support and help with the replication and expansion of the elder abuse case review MDT model across the country. It's an area that we've identified as being a best practice in the field, and so we put a lot of work into providing resources and services to help support the work that is happening across the country. So one of the things that we do is provide requests requested materials. So if you are on the hunt for research to support some of the work that you are doing, or you're wondering something about a best practice in the field, and you can't find it anywhere, you can always call me, and I'll be a real-life person on the other end of the phone to try to help connect you with those materials. We also do problem-solving and team-building consultations, and we do those both virtually and in person. Also speaking at educational events and putting on webinars. And then a couple of resources I want to make you aware of. One is the Elder Abuse Multidisciplinary Team Guide and Toolkit. We'll briefly take a peek at that, and then want to talk about the network map that we are working on. And then just also briefly mention that another project that ties into all of these things that's coming out really this year is an Elder Abuse Multidisciplinary Team listserv community. And that is being put together in partnership with the California District Attorneys Association. We are creating a community where peers can help to support and educate one another. So if you are part of a multidisciplinary team, keep that in the back of your mind that very soon there will be a community where you can pose questions to other MDTs across the country to learn tactics and interesting tidbits about how they're making things work in their community, because I think those that work in this field understand how really very fluid this work can be and how quickly things can change, and the need to adapt and to grow and meet the needs of your community. So it'll be nice to be able to have that peer support, have one place where you can go across the country to gain that. If you go over to the elderjustice.gov website, you can see that on the left-hand navigation, there is a section for multidisciplinary teams, and from that page, you can access the resources and educational materials that we're talking about today, including the MDT Guide and Toolkit. When you go into the Guide and Toolkit, you will see that the chapters are broken down with toolkit items that help to support and supplement the information that is captured in the guide. If you look at the individual chapters, you'll see that on the right-hand side, you have the chapter content. On the left-hand side, there's a nifty thing that I like to point out right here, and that is you can click on this little button that says chapters, and you can download a PDF with all of the citations that went into the development of that chapter. This is a really handy tool. I like to point this out because the guide and toolkit that is being used on the website today actually grew from a 300-page research paper that was put together by colleagues. So it's very well researched, and if you take a peek at it and you really are looking for some research to support the work that you're doing in any particular area, you can find some really fabulous references right there. So let's get into the heart of today's presentation and talk a bit about this mapping project that we are working on. It's important to note that this is being considered a live project. This is a living map, and it's something that is generated by the field for the field. Let me give you a little background to this project, and then we'll talk about definitions and what we mean when we say network. So as I've worked in this field, in particular with the Department of Justice, and I've had the opportunity to go out to local communities around the country and see what is happening on the ground, I have been really surprised by some things that I did not expect or didn't really know about, even though I've been in the field, as I said, for 15 years. And one of them is just how many teams there are that are working on elder use issues around the country. In fact, there are about 5 or 6 states now that require some form of multidisciplinary elder use team to exist at the county level in their state at each county. So, for example, Ohio has over 80 elder use multidisciplinary teams within just that state, And those are just the mandated teams. There's lots of other teams that provide other services or that have other focuses other than case review. And so I was really astounded at how many people are really doing this work. And I think that is because those of us that do this work can often feel so siloed. It feels like you're out there struggling on your own with this issue that other people are not so familiar with. And if you can feel a little lost sometimes, or at least I certainly have very times in my career. So one of the reasons why we were hoping to put together a map like this is because connections count. It's really important that people who are doing this work have ways to connect with one another, to learn from one another, and to see what's happening in their backyard. You could be very unfamiliar with work that's very similar to what you're trying to accomplish, and I know that's happened in many of the states that I've gone to, where I've gone to work with a team, and they haven't realized that in a county or two where there's a very similar team that's doing something that has been doing the work that they've been hoping to do. So because of that, we're really hoping that this map will enable elder justice professionals to connect with one another and learn from one another, reach out to one another, and see what's happening around the country. Another reason why we felt like this project was important is because data drives research priorities, it drives funding, it drives practice. And I'm sorry, I'll keep hearing somebody talk on the phone, so if you are on the line, would you mind please muting your line? If you have a question, you can type it into the chat, and we'll be sure that we get that answered for you.
Yeah, an email.
So throughout the year, I have received several media requests for data and information regarding what teams were out there, and it seems like such a simple ask. I think many of the reporters that have come to me looking for information about how many MDTs there are in the country have been really astounded that nobody really has clear, collective and public and accessible information. What we've been doing as a field for a long time is looking at funding streams. So we know that this many teams were funded through this project and this many teams were funded through that project, and trying to sort of piecemeal information together, particularly with the smaller teams that can be harder to identify. And the rural teams and tribal teams and all of these different types of elder justice teams and networks around the country that maybe don't have public prominence and aren't on the news or as prominent in the communities, the elder justice community. So we're hoping that we can help identify a lot of the networks that are out there doing this work for these and many other reasons. One of the reasons that I'm particularly excited to be working on this project is because the MDT Technical Assistance Center has a lot of objectives and deliverables that are very behind the scenes, and helping elder justice professionals break through those silos and form those connections and to build a network of professionals that can support one another is one of the main objectives of our program. So what do we mean when we say network? It's a very broad term, and I can tell you when we first started this project, we were really thinking about elder abuse multidisciplinary teams because that's what this project's focus has been. The Technical Assistance Center has been very focused specifically on case review teams. And we were defining multidisciplinary teams as those that are rooted in the biopsychosocial model, MDTs that were defined as having representatives from 3 or more disciplines who work collaboratively and are bound by a common purpose, that have shared goals and shared definitions of the problem that they're addressing. But very quickly we realized that this definition, while it has been really valuable to the work that we've been doing at the Technical Assistance Center, for this project it was far too narrow. Community needs vary widely, And addressing those needs requires diversity and flexibility and access to models that can be adaptable and change to the needs of their community. MDTs actually make up a small fraction of what we're seeing among local networks that are working on and addressing elder abuse in their communities. And discovering more about the types of networks and how they are functioning and the good work that they are doing, we feel advances the fields at large. So we needed a broader term, and the way we're defining networks is very broad. It's any team that's working on elder justice and or elder abuse issues with a very few examples, exceptions. And those exceptions really have to do with federal guidelines around who we're able to promote or be seen as promoting. So for-profit organizations and .coms cannot be included in this map. There may be other rules that will apply, but currently those are the two most important restrictions that we have in this mapping project. As we've gone through and had discussions with various networks, we've sort of seen that there are three main categories of networks that are addressing elder abuse and elder justice issues in their community. Those who are working on policy, so it could be local, state, or national policy. If you have a team that's working on policy around elder abuse and elder justice, they would more than likely qualify to be listed on this map. There are also teams that work on prevention. They're focused more on education, outreach, public awareness, things like that. And then prosecution or other forms of intervention. So those teams that are working on case review or care planning teams, or those that are doing outcomes evaluations of actual cases that have occurred. So there are lots of teams that intersect with this issue of abuse, and in addition to those that intersect with issues of elder abuse, we see those that are tackling a very specific issue within elder abuse. So to give you an idea of just some of the broad teams that could potentially be included on this map, you have those that are specifically elder abuse teams, those teams that are perhaps focused on mental illness, or hoarding, or code enforcement, but they have clients that are elderly.
Please mute your computer speakers or your telephone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So we have teams that are working on other issues, but they may have clients that overlap with elder abuse or elder justice issues. And those are perfectly acceptable to be included on the map as long as they are able to show us that, yes, they do work with those clients. And then other teams that you might be familiar with are those that take a specific issue within elder abuse and focus on that, like financial abuse specialist teams or guardianship teams that are specifically for older adults or those who have experienced abuse. So it can go either way. It can be a broad team that intersects with elder abuse and they share those clienteles, or it can be a team that has really tried to focus in on one particular aspect of elder abuse and elder justice that they would like to address in their community. So this is a locator map, and really the only information we have on this map, we've tried to keep it very basic, and that's an intentional aspect of this map. We just want to know who people are and where they are, and that will enable people to connect and learn more from one another as they choose to share information on their own. So it's really designed to help professionals locate and collaborate with one another. When you go to the map is automatically populated with all of the teams that are currently included on the map, and then you can start to filter down to information as you want to see it. So you can filter by state or search by keyword. You can see, for instance, how many multidisciplinary teams or FAST teams or teams in your city or in your zip code, for example, that there are. The networks that are represented on this map come from two places. One was a survey that was generated by the University of Southern California, and that survey went out about a year and a half ago at this point, and it was a part of a forensic center replication project that they were working on, and they specifically asked that those who participated in that survey participate in the mapping of where their teams were located. So we have specific permission from those teams that participated in the survey with USC to have their teams populated on this map. And then beyond that, teams have to request to be included. So we cannot just blanket everyone we know that has a team and request that they join us or solicit their participation. We are dependent on teams becoming aware of who we are and what we're doing and saying, I would like to be included. And again, that has to do with some of the federal regulations on our project. As I mentioned before, this locator is a living map. It was launched knowing that there are many more networks across the country that are not currently represented on the map, but that's really where you come in, and we're hoping that you can help us populate the locator if this is something that you have interest in or would like your team to be represented. I want to now just quickly go to a live view of the map so I could share my screen. Liza, thank you. I want to show you how to navigate to the map and what it looks like currently, so you can get around on it as well. So give me just 1 second while I pull it up. Okay, it should be showing up on your screen right now. So once again, if you go to elderjustice.gov, you can scroll down the left-hand side where it says multidisciplinary teams. And here we have lots of information about the MDT Technical Assistance Center, including some of the resources we chatted about earlier, like the guide and toolkit. And here the very first, let's see, we have the carousel at the very top. It's one of the first things you see, and slide number 3 is the one that will take you to the Elder Justice Networks Locator map. So this is what your screen will look like when it comes up. So it gives you some information, explains what the map is. And then if we scroll down, you can see that currently the teams that are plotted are featured and listed in 2 ways. So the first way they show up is as pins on a map of the United States. And then below the map, you have the actual information written out about the map. So the network name, how they have identified the type of team that they are. So some interesting things came to light as we were going through this particular set of data, and there are quite a few hotlines that specifically work on elder abuse issues and around the country, and so that was an interesting find. I think as we've gone through and looked at this data and had people submit information to us, we're really learning a lot ourselves about what's happening in the country and some of the unique ways that people are meeting the needs of their communities in terms of how they're dealing with elder abuse and sorting through elder justice issues locally. So from this view, you can filter by the state that you're in if you want to see what's going on in your state. So I'll just filter by one random state and look at Georgia. The connection's a little slow, but you can see that how it filters it out, and you can go and look at the individual pins, zoom in and zoom out, and see what's happening in each of the states that you've chosen. And again, we know there are many, many more teams than what we currently have listed, but we are excited that we have the ones that we have. It's really thrilling. We have 156 teams that are currently represented on the map, and by the beginning of February, we anticipate that number will double. We have quite a few people who've submitted their information to us now, and we are in the process of vetting and cleaning up that data and putting it into the map. very, very thankful for the folks over at JMD for helping us pull this together and making it look nice. You can also do keyword searches. If you search for something more than one time, it will automatically come up. So I was definitely looking for some folks that I knew were out there and wanted to make sure that they are placed on the map. But here, let's look for coalitions, and this will be the last search, and we'll go back to the presentation. But just to give you an idea, if you're curious how many teams are identifying themselves as coalitions, say, for instance, then you can pull together that information and have contact information populated to see how you can reach out to those folks to see what it is that they're doing if you have that interest. So the people who have agreed to be on the map have provided us the contact information with which they feel is appropriate and with which they are comfortable sharing and having other professionals reach out to them. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now like that, and we can go back to the presentation. So all in all, our main goal here is to help build a more connected future for the field of elder justice. And we want to do just a very quick poll here to see how many of you feel like, based on what we've discussed here today, are interested in being a part of the map. And while you're filling that out, I want to address a couple of the things that I see. Somebody is suggesting changing fast to fast because it's a different type of team. The great thing about the way we're doing this mapping is that we are not ourselves grappling with any terminology. It is highly political to define networks and to say what we think they are, and like a financial abuse specialist team or a financial exploitation specialist team. So we're allowing both and all terminology to be used. So it is self-identified. If you identify as FEST or FAST or any of the other acronyms that we have in our alphabet soup over here, you can tell us what you call yourself. And as long as it's an acronym, you do have to spell it out for the website, but we're allowing the field to drive this process of what are teams and what are they called, and just to self-identify and self-define. So, well, I'm very happy that we have 0% that say they don't want to be a part of the map. So thank you to those who say yes and those who say maybe. That's really fabulous. We can go ahead and close out the poll, and I will pull up the information about how to be included and what you need to share with us if you want to be on the map. So your network name, so whatever it is that you call yourself, and then as we were discussing, that self-identified network type. So for example, here in Texas, where I'm working from right now, there is a team institute, the Texas Elder Abuse and Mistreatment Institute, and they identify as an elder abuse multidisciplinary team. So that would be their network name and then their network type as they identify it. And then some form of contact information that you feel comfortable with other professionals reaching out to you for more information about what you're doing, or to build relationships with you, etc. We'll need to provide either an email or a phone number or both. If you have a website, that's great, but you don't have to have one to be included on the map. And we do need a physical address. And I think a physical address can be a little tricky for a lot of teams, because I know many of the teams that I have served on the past, we didn't have a physical address. It was a group of professionals that maybe met at a particular office, or the meetings may have rotated at different locations. But what we're looking for is a map, so we have to have a plot point. We need to know at the very least the city and state and zip code where you're located, or to use the physical address of a lead agency that's participating on the team, and that's for the sole purpose of putting a dot on the map. Let's see here. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave this slide up so that you can view it and take a look at it, but we do have some time, and I was wondering if anybody has any questions. So if there's anything that you would like me to clarify for you or to talk in more depth about, go ahead and type those questions into the chat, and I'll try to address those right now. Let's see here. What network options are available for-profit financial institutions? Well, we see that for-profit financial institutions will often participate on multidisciplinary teams of some form or another. What we're looking at is that the entity itself, the team, the network itself is not a for-profit. So we're not looking at all of the individual members. We're looking at how does the team identify, what is the web extension of the team, and does that team together, does it provide a service that they're charging money for or not? So we do see lots of banks that are participating on FAST teams. The FAST team itself could be listed as a financial institution, could not. Let's see, is there another question? A training certificate for this webinar. I will loop back. I know that some of our webinars, they do provide training certificates and others do not. I think it really depends on the professional requirements for each group, so you're welcome to go ahead and shoot an email over where you registered, and I can follow up with you on that. What is the difference between an MDT and a task force? I love this question. I have to tell you, all of the questions about what makes this team different from that team are things that my colleagues and I grappled with for a couple of years while we were trying to develop this project. And it was one of the reasons why we decided to allow teams to self-identify and to call themselves what it is that they want to call themselves. So for me personally, as an elder justice professional, I would say that the teams that I see that generally call themselves multidisciplinary are made up of multiple disciplines that are working together for a common purpose. They have common goals. They have a common problem that they are addressing, and they're usually working over a longer period of time. So a team may come into existence and be around for many years working in the same community on the same issues. Most of the task forces that I see have a specific problem. They come together to work on a particular problem, and they have a beginning and an end. There are some FAST teams that don't function that way, which is why we are allowing people to use the terminology with which they are comfortable. But for example, the federal task forces that we often work with here at our project, they usually come into existence around a particular issue, say nursing home abuse or financial abuse, and they have a particular goal that they are going to reach together in this team, and then they reach their goal and they conclude their task force, and then perhaps another task force will be open later that will do something similar. Someone is saying, this is great, but there are no MDTs in my area. There are none in my area. I think that one of the things that we're hoping is that there are teams everywhere. Now, maybe not in your city or in your county, but close to you. We know there are teams in every state. A lot more teams than I knew of 5 or 10 years ago. And so we're hoping that when people look at this map and they see that there's nothing mapped for their area, that that'll provide some impetus, a little light those competitive flames, if you will, and have people want to make sure that there's something included in their state. So if you're familiar with MDTs in your state but you are not a part of one, please do feel free to forward the information about this map on to others because we do want to see as many people represented as possible. Another question here, what options are available for area agencies on aging and their elder abuse prevention coordinators to participate? If your elder abuse coordinators are working on a team, so a lot of times I have seen some elder abuse prevention coordinators that are working on prosecution teams. Prosecution teams can be included. They may be working on policy. If they're part of a policy team, then that team can be included. And so we're not listing all of the agencies that serve older adults because that would be overwhelming, and usually those agencies have their own way for you to locate them through their website. So AAA, for example, or other agencies, Adult Protective Services has maps, that, et cetera. So we're not going to plot all of the agencies serving older adults. There's really a focus on those networks, those teams that are coming together to work on issues of elder abuse and elder justice in their area. So I hope that, I know it feels a lot like splitting hairs with some of these definitions, but not plotting agencies, but any agencies that participate on teams doing this work, those teams can be mapped. Let's see, is there anything, I see another person typing, so I'll give just 1 second for the other question to come up. I see some nice familiar names in the participants, so thank you for joining us and coming back around for more of our webinars. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. If you have a question that you were hoping to ask, but that you didn't have time, or you think of something afterwards, you're always welcome to email me at the email address that's on your screen. It's a long one, and I am sorry. As a DOJ, you have to use every part of your name, and I have a long name. So my email address is talitha.j.gwen-shaver@usdoj.gov, and that's one of the reasons why I left it up for this so long in the presentation. But you're welcome to reach out to me, not only if you would like to be a part of the network SNAP, but if you have questions or want something clarified or want to help make a connection, really welcome your collaboration, your feedback. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know as elder justice professionals, you're probably pulled in a million directions at once and wearing multiple fancy hats. So I appreciate your time and coming in to check out this new project we've got going on, and I hope to see your team on our Networks Locator very soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.